This is the Fitzy and Whipper with Kate Ritchie podcast.
This is really, really exciting because her new album, The Second Act, is out now. You can also grab your tickets to the Second Act tour at missyhiggins.com. Actually, she's playing some great gigs. Centennial Vineyards, that's at Bowral on Saturday, 30th of November. And also, I am so pumped for this one. The Sydney Opera House forecourt on Sunday, 1st of December. It is the magnificent Missy Higgins. Welcome!
Hello, Missy!
Hey, thank you.
We were just talking off air. When I said everybody has a Missy Higgins story, quite often your music represents such a moment in time for so many people. And that must be really touching to know that you've been part of, I suppose, their environment and their life at a special moment in time.
It is. It's so nice. I've just finished 40 shows across Australia.
Wild. And
I could really feel it every night because I played the first half. I played my new album. The second half, I played the entire of The Sound of White, and I can almost see all the little memories and stories floating around in the air while people are listening to them. It's so cool.
Well, can I give you mine, Missy?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, I celebrated 20 years at Nova.
Oh wow.
And my first day on air, American Rosso, this is down in Adelaide, when we first started Nova, American Rosso introduced us as The Breakfast Show, and Missy Higgins played Scar for us in the studio.
Oh, wow. Was that your first day?
That was my first day on the job.
Oh, my gosh, amazing.
At this company. So it's Sound of White. I mean, it is. It affected so many people around Australia, and it just
broke all the records too.
It freaks me out that it's been 20 years. How do you look back at that album?
I've got such a fondness for that album now. I think I kind of rebelled from it for a little bit in my 20s because, you know, as you do with everything that you created or said when you were a teenager, you're like, oh my God, so embarrassing. I'm not that person anymore. But now I appreciate it so much because I now realise that it was an important album for people. I had no idea. And 20 years later, there's so many people telling me these amazing stories and telling me how much that album meant to them and telling me that they still remember where they were when they heard a certain song. And I had no idea of the impact that it made. So I'm just so grateful for it, I guess.
You're talking about it being important to other people, but even though it may not be who you are anymore, and it was so many years ago, it is also still an element of who you were and kind of who you are. Is it still a piece? It's a piece, an important piece of you?
It is. I mean, I guess if you can imagine you had your teenage diaries published and hundreds of thousands of people bought it and still have it in their homes, it kind of doesn't feel like my story anymore. But I look back on it fondly and I think, wow, what a beautiful kind of snapshot in time that was.
I think well-deserved, but I would love to hear your thoughts. How do you feel personally about your induction into the ARIA Hall of Fame? I mean, it's an amazing honour.
Yeah, it feels incredible.
Do you know, Missy, when you talk about The Sound of White and you go back to sort of 20 years ago, and those were your personal diaries. Since then, though, you've been a lot more open about talking about personal things and your story as well. So that must have been another brave step to go, you know what, like I've listened to you on the Imperfects with you and the guys, and I love that you're able to say, well, that's something I'm prepared to share now, and it's not just in the song.
Yeah, I think for a long time in my 20s I was very guarded because it was an adjustment coming into the public eye and you know, suddenly everybody wanted to know all about me and my personal life and talk about it and gossip about it and, you know, that's quite a strange thing to get used to, especially when you're like,
I bet.
You know, you're young and you're like an introverted person and the only reason you started making music was to try and kind of work through some difficult teenage-y, angsty stuff in your bedroom, and then all of a sudden, you know, everybody knows who you are and everyone's asking stuff that's private. But I think as I grew up and as I got older, I just became more comfortable with the idea of sharing personal stuff because I realised that it's actually helpful to other people, and I realised that it's ultimately what connects me with other people. It's what connects people to my music because they can
Completely.
relate to me. So
The new album, The Second Act, is out now, and you can also grab your tickets to The Second Act tour. Go to missyhiggins.com to get your tickets there. That will sell out very quickly, so get onto that. Congratulations, and we can't wait to watch the ARIA Awards this year and watch you up there at the Hall of Fame. Missy, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in today.
no worries. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Missy. Great to see you.
Fits in Whipper with Kate Ritchie is a Nova podcast. For more great shows like this, download the Nova Player via the App Store or Google Play.
The Nova Player.